Looking back on highlights there from this morning, some big barrels and clean conditions here at Keramas on day one of the event window for the Corona Bali Protected event. And now moving into the final couple of heats of this first round, and a big change in the conditions as we see three very powerful surfers, three regular footers fighting it out for a place in the third round. Wade Carmichael out there in the red jersey up against Frederico Moraes, who'll be wearing the blue jersey, and Willian Cardoso from Brazil out there in the white. Ronnie Blakey with Strider Wasilewski. Should be a good matchup, Strider. All these competitors rely on the same kind of tools to get their big scores done here at the championship tour level.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. What separates the surfers in the water right now is they're all power surfers. They're all going to be sticking to the rail on the lip game. Don't really think we're going to see much above the lip game, except it's a possibility. I mean, I have seen Frederico as well as Carmichael go above the lip in like desire moments when I've seen those times and they've been against the wall. I saw Wade Carmichael do it on the Gold Coast, get a score right in the last minute, and I've seen Fredo go through the roof as well, so it'd be fun to watch.
Wade Carmichael coming off the back, the second place finish over in Brazil, fifth in the world. This former lifeguard from the central coast of New South Wales, in the same zone as Adrian Buchan, Matt Wilkinson.
I'll be honest, I didn't see him doing this well in the beginning of the year. You know, for him to make a final in waves that, you know, that we saw over in Brazil, and it's just one of those, it's so nice to be surprised for myself watching the surfers and the level of athletes that are on tour right now. And somebody like Wade Carmichael, we saw his excellence in, say, waves like Sunset and waves, you know, of power and that kind of surf. But for him to excel at this point, this level, and still just be knocking on that door and looking strong coming into it, I had, you know, I was pleasantly surprised to see him doing this well.
I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of his surfing over the years. He's a bit of a QS journeyman. He's just not a guy who's going to buckle. He's pretty reliable. I think I know what you're saying. You know, you don't really see those big highlight clips of Wade throwing down those big individual turns. But when it comes to power and laying down big turns in critical sections, his kind of surfing, his brand of surfing suits the championship tour pretty well. I think he is going to lose some of those heats where he comes up against the real firepower of some of those more hyped competitors. But for the most part, he's going to be pretty reliable for a couple of good scores. He's proven that. And he just looks at ease at the championship tour level, much like Frederico Moraes did last year. You know, a similar kind of approach.
Yeah, finding comfort. But geez, look at the conditions that they're having to deal with at the moment. Let's not talk about it. I mean, look at what we had this morning with just throttling, you know, 15-foot face barrels driving down this reef, and then cut to the wind came up, you know, the tide's drained out again, and the swell seems to have backed off a bit. So I'm probably, you know, thinking these guys are wanting to get work done as quick as possible in this heat, right? When the conditions have laid down a bit, get what you can.
Willian Cardoso looking to get things started. Keramas, even with an onshore wind, is still a very rippable wave. And these guys will find their place in this lineup for sure. Willian with just that one turn. Wade taking off behind him now, loading up. Just a very quick trip to get over here from Brazil for those surfers that made it to those final days. But it's been fun thinking about this event and just the lack of heat reps that some competitors have been able to get out here. Willian Cardoso, no former championship tour experience, no heats out here at Keramas. Wade Carmichael, though, had some opportunities as a junior. In fact, he quarterfinaled here back in 2012. So did Frederico Moraes. So, you know, it's not their first picnic here at this location. So they understand that, you know, there's many different sort of faces to this wave depending on what the conditions are doing. And I think they'll throw down some pretty big turns in this heat. 23.5 minutes remaining. Time to check in with the winner of the last heat, Michelle Perez Kuiper, looking really sharp.
Thanks, Ronnie. Michelle, last time we had competition here, you were the runner-up. How does it feel to come back to Karamas?
It's amazing. I made my first final in the WCT here, the last time I came here, and then, you know, it's such a magical place for me. And especially today, like I woke up and I came down and they had the spotlight on, you know, and we came super early and the waves were piling this morning. I couldn't believe it because it's been flat for like almost 10 days now. And just to come and surf and be able to surf with all your friends and stuff and get barrel this morning was amazing.
You've had success here, obviously. So what do you think this wave offers to your surfing that, you know, matches your surfing?
It's a powerful wave, you know. It's it fits my surfing because I love powerful wave, and powerful surfing is, you know, it's my main card, you know. So I just feel like home here. I just feel like I can do anything on the wave except backflips, you know. So whatever comes to me, I'm ready.
Well, great surfing. We'll see you around 3, Michelle.
Thanks, man.
Back to you guys.
Thanks, Kipes. Yeah, Michelle just looked alive out there, didn't he? He just looked like he was ready to rip into any section that stood up. His equipment always looks really sparky. Could be pretty deadly. You got to remember too, he's hanging on to a couple of quarterfinals from those first 2 contests, so he's in a good position on the leaderboard too.
Yeah, you were saying that even after the first, you know, those first couple of good results that he had, that he's really dangerous. It was him and Owen Wilson, I think.
Owen Wright, yeah.
Owen Wright, sorry. And you really were pointing out that they were both looking like they had this position to really take over some ground, and I'd love to see those guys kind of have good finishes here and put themselves up in a position that really gets them into that title conversation, because they're such great surfers. And I think somebody like Michel Perez, he's got so much fire in him. It's interesting to see them go from this morning's conditions and then come back and surf a heat like that and turn that fire into this bounce and just spunk in those kind of different conditions, but just kind of transfer that mindset of just tube time into just lip time.
Well, no big scores locked in just yet. The highest number belongs to Federico Moraes, just a 1.77. Not much in it. William Cardoso out in front with 2 throwaway numbers. But a really interesting heat, this one. You know, I just don't think any of these guys holds a particular edge over their rival competitor out there in the lineup. It just feels like it's pretty even across the board. All surfers with great timing, a lot of power that can combo up some big major turns.
It's just hoping we get those waves, right? We talked about it a bit earlier, just about the X factor of Mother Nature and how she gives and takes away, and you don't really know what's going to happen in the water, and you're hoping for that wave with priority. And I guess that's kind of the beauty of surfing in the ocean, that X factor. But then flipping to the other side, like say at the surf ranch, where you know you're going to get that wave and you have to perform when it comes, and you have all that pressure built up on you. I think that surfing in a natural environment like this is less pressure, and I feel like it would be surfing in something like the surf ranch, when you know you're going to have the opportunity and you have to perform.
Oh, sitting pretty deep out there at the moment, Wade Carmichael lining this one up, connects with this first section, throws a bit of water, tries to generate some speed to get down the line here. Caught behind for a moment, might not get back out in front of this one. 19.5 minutes to go. That will probably be the best score of this heat so far. But the leaderboard, Strider, the Jeep leaderboard, looking so interesting. Wade Carmichael jumped up into 5th place. Can he hang on to that position?
Well, he's surfing quick. I mean, look at these little snaps. He finds sections. It's a quick power snap, you know, like he puts the board right on the button, you know, and it's an interesting thing where the talent to be timing-wise to actually click into that one place where you're going to put your board that's going to perfectly flow through a maneuver. You can see the demonstration of speed and the way that the board will displace water. It's just a perfect placed maneuver when that happens, and he seems to be able to put his board in that place 9 times out of 10, like you were saying, under pressure.
Rosy conditions, so different to what we saw earlier on. Really tricky with that onshore breeze kicking up, but we're expecting these guys to still find a couple of decent numbers.
Definitely, Ron. I mean, how much can this pace change? Every heat, there's a different face that we're seeing of Karamas. Right now, that wind's kicked up. But as I, approach this lineup a little closely, you could tell that if you kind of get those ones where it sucks off the reef, you do get that bit of clean face. Like on Wade's one, it offers you that little bit of cup on that lower tide that you can attack. No, we saw Michel Perez in the previous heat. He got a couple of those opportunities. I think the boy is definitely leaning on that power surfing and looking for those bowly sections to attack.
Well, just biding their time at the moment too. It looks like that tide's starting to roll out now. Strider just under 18 minutes to go. Wade Carmichael banked 2.83 on that last wave. But nothing needed from Willian Cardoso or Federico Moraes to get themselves into the lead at this point in time. And Bali, it's been such a popular destination for travelling surfers for such a long period of time, and the focus, for the most part back in the day, was the Bukit and the left-handers, but in recent times, a lot of rights coming into play here in Bali. The word spreading as Federico Moraes gets his opportunity. Nice big whipping hack to get started on this ride. And he's going to look for a finish right there on the shore break. So pretty solid. Didn't need a whole lot to jump from third into the lead. But yeah, these rights would have just been reeling off. No one on them.
No one around, huh? Yeah, it's interesting that there were so many waves here that people weren't even looking at yet.
Willian Cardoso trying to get himself into the heat too. A draw off the bottom into this first section. Great commitment on that first turn. Combos up, 3 pretty decent moves. Just gets taken out by the sidewash there.
Yeah, a little off tempo to finish that one off. So you saw him kind of fighting to put together a combination on the inside that just kind of got away from him. It was interesting. I pulled up here to coming back from a surf yesterday, and we were, going by. There's like some rice fields, some paddies out there, and my buddy Scott Sopo was looking at it. He goes, "Yeah, this was nothing. It was here. It was just all rice paddies before." You see Willian coming up into the corner. Nice off the top there. A little hung up, and then struggles to get this last move in. So doesn't really come away with a big score. But Federico Moraes, on the other hand, had a great combination. I like that vertical climb right there into a nice little cutback, and keeps the board moving through the inside. So though it wasn't anything crazy, it was still a really well-surfed wave, and put up a number to get himself probably down the line a bit on this heat. I like it. Look pretty quick.
Well, Fred's trying to get that just that reputation back for being reliable and steady for solid scores in each of his heats. He dropped 7s more often than not when he pulled the jersey on last season. Sitting a little further back than what he was this time last year, but definitely capable of doing some damage as he moves through the rounds. Wade Carmichael just trying to unload, throw something a little bit more explosive on the end section there. Unsuccessful.
It's interesting, though, those scores are coming in much different than they were last year, aren't they? The judges really leaning on the surfers to push harder, just like Wade did on that last maneuver right there. If he would have come around that and made that maneuver, we would have seen a much more substantial score come through for him, because he was going into it with speed. He had a bit of progression with throwing the tail around, and it looked like he was in control. He just hit that little chop at the bottom there where he came unstuck, but did a really great job to show a point of difference there that, that's what we want to see in these kind of conditions.
It's a really good point. Just a really sort of different feel with the scoring this year. Felt a little bit more restraint from the judges in the first couple of events of the season for sure, and someone like Federico Moraes, who was dropping those 7s regularly last year, has to make that adjustment and understand that it's not necessarily surfing, but more so the scale that's keeping him down on the numbers side a little bit. But it probably is a bit of a blow to your confidence and ego when you're doing like that same kind of surfing and only registering 5s and 6s.
Yeah, for sure. It's just something it's been, talked about. It's definitely been told to the surfers, and it's a new regiment put into the scale that I agree with. I really like to see a bit of progression pushed onto the surfers.
Well, just on 13.5 minutes to go. Wade Carmichael having a look at that one. Not much doing, though. Federico Moraes is out in front with a 4.67 and a 1.77. Welcome back to the show. This is the Corona Bali Protected event. Make sure you check out some of the great experiences on offer courtesy of WSL and Airbnb, partnering up to really give you some unique opportunities to experience a different side of surfing. So get involved. You can check out more at airbnb.com/surfing.
It's actually a pretty amazing collaboration there. And you can go shape surfboards. You can go hang out at events, you know, as a VIP. You can go surf with surfers from each area and really get the inside tip on where to surf, when to surf, and be with kind of a local that'll take you there and slide you right into the sweet spot. So pretty amazing partnership happening with WSL and Airbnb.
Looking forward to seeing how Adriano de Souza performs here at Karamas. Carrying a 9th as his best place finish in the 3 completed events so far this season. Very unusual to see Adriano in 17th position after the first few events of the year. So he needs a big comeback mission here in Bali. You wouldn't put it past him. And he's one guy that really knows how to adapt well in the conditions. I think a lot of competitors get here, they surf in the morning in the lead up to the comp kicking off, and sometimes, you know, the motivation to get out there in these onshore conditions and get a few heats sort of mentally, or get yourself mentally prepared for heats in onshore conditions is sometimes gone. You know, you have that big morning session and you sort of miss the arvo. You've got to get out there when it's crummy too.
I did see quite a few surfers coming out of the water yesterday. You know, we came down to check in and kind of go over the event, and when I got down here, I did see a lot of guys coming in, and the conditions a lot like they are now, onshore, a little bit smaller swell, and just not a lot happening. But they, you know, they did put a few sessions in. So a guy like Adriano is such a warrior that he has spent so much time in so many different kinds of conditions. You know, you'd think that he's just going out there knowing exactly what he needs to do. I mean, one of Brazil's world champs. This guy is so loaded with information and what to do in these heats.
Well, Sebastian Zietz is also going to be in that heat. And I guess the interesting point about those guys is when the whispers about Bali coming back on the schedule were happening, they were the 2 competitors that went, you know what, we're going to get there for that low-rated QS event. The Mad Hui's Pro, which ran for a couple of seasons here at Karamas. They both surfed in the contest and got some big numbers. Adriano actually cracked the final of that contest. So they've done more time in the lineup with the jersey on than anyone else in recent times.
Yeah. And look at Zietz. Did you catch that conversation when he walked up to the bar there to get his jersey? He said, "Can I get a Corona, please?" Just having fun, feeling lighthearted and ready to go for a surf. That was that's kind of Sebastian Zietz in a nutshell. He's just always having a good time, always out for a surf. And he surfs more probably than anybody on tour, I think. He's always in the water.
He loves it. Looking forward to seeing that last heat of the first round coming up in around about 9 minutes, but right now Frederico Moraes holding on to the lead. The surfer representing Portugal. He's got a 4.67 and a 1.77. William Cardoso only looking for a 2.68. Wade Carmichael, he's chasing a 3.62 to make the jump from third position. Fred making a move on the inside at the moment. Wade hanging out the back. Opted not to use his priority, Frederico Moraes. But he sees maybe something in this wave. Wade Carmichael make sure that he gets Fred out of the way, and it was a good sell because the wave didn't really eventuate at all.
It's interesting to see the waves that they're trying to pick, though. You can tell that those first waves within a set, they've got that bump on them. So that second wave kind of cleaning up, pulling the sheets tight a bit, making something look a little smoother on the face, and I think that that would lend to their performance and give them a better canvas to go out and lay down some lines on. But it is really a tough go out there right now for these guys. As that is, everybody's in the same sandbox. You got the same toys to play with. Which ones do you pick?
Wade trying to make his next decision with priority count. He lets that one go. William Cardoso also eyeing off what was happening down the line there. With these onshore winds, the surfers are looking for a wave that is going to stretch out, offer some more than one opportunity, especially the three competitors that are out there at the moment. They're not looking for that oncoming ramp section, it seems, at this point in time, because you could have taken a lot of the waves that are broken already. They're looking to get major maneuvers done and get a couple of them executed before the wave shuts down.
Yeah, I feel like they could set themselves aside and kind of make that point of difference by going above the lip, though, like giving us and the judges something to talk about, right? Because that's what is going to set them aside. They've all kind of got that same powerhouse surfing in this heat. But we had Connor Coffin on the set earlier where he was talking about the fact that try not to get mixed up in everybody else's heat. Try to surf your own heat. That's what he does. And try to surf to your strengths. So, you know, that's must be what these guys are thinking in this heat. Just surf to my strengths and I'm going to better my opponent. But I have seen these guys, Carmichael and Moraes, go above the lip and do, you know, big finners where they're just whole boards out of the water, come around, flip it around for the reverse. So if they were, you know, laying down a couple of those out there right now, there would be a little bit of the eye open for the judge, and that's something I think that needs to happen at the moment. Because right now, this is a sleepy heat, low scores, nothing even really into the good range.
Yeah, 5.5 minutes to go. It just seems like, Rosie, that tide's playing a big role in kind of squashing that approaching swell.
Yeah, that's so right, Ronnie. But just noticing, even with that tide pulling out, I know Strider mentioned it, that second wave of the set, it kind of smooths out. And it almost has that Velziland feel in Hawaii, where it has that shallow bar and it still runs so perfectly on a ruler edge. So there still is opportunity here. Let's see if William Cardoso can capitalize on this wave.
Nice section standing up there. Willen delivers a pretty solid hit. This wave's just stepping out a little bit on the inside, but he's just trying to stick with it, looking for any points he can find on the inside. Belts the oncoming closeout, but the wave just sort of fading in power, and he doesn't really ride out. So 4.5 minutes to go. He didn't need a whole lot, only a 2.68 to make the jump into first. The strength of the first turn might do it for him.
Yeah, he found himself on a nice clean piece right there. I mean, he bashed it, so he's definitely, in my mind, going to get into the score line that he needs, or at least really close to it, because that turn was put up right in the perfect spot on the button, like we talked about Carmichael doing all the time, and William can do it too. An interesting point, I think, about Indonesia, as we see some live surfing there from Federico trying to get across, but is the tide playing such a big role in the conditions here. It changes surf spots dramatically. A place like Desert Point is barely even alive at high tide. Then it turned around 4 hours later as the tide's just about to, you know, go into a different place. It just starts waking up, and the next thing you know, at low tide, it's absolutely pumping. down at Canggu yesterday. I rolled up. The tide was a little fuller. There was these wedges coming across all over the beach. I was like, woo, out there, jumping the water surf for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then the next thing you know, the tide goes rock bottom. Disappeared, completely just changed the canvas from what we were there. We came in, had some food, looked back out as the tide came back in. There was waves again. So tide being a huge part of surfing here in Indonesia.
Such a good point. And certainly here, you know, the ocean floor is exposed pretty heavily on that lower tide, so the wave starts breaking in different places. 3 minutes to go. Wade Carmichael holding on to priority at the moment. Searching for a 5.01 now. The score was enough for Willen Cardoso to make the jump up into first position. Federico Moraes is going to try and get it back here. He needs a 3.17 out of this wave. Loading up. That section just not really standing up, though, so he doesn't attempt the air. 2.5 minutes to go. Let's check in with Kuiper.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. We got some news from our commissioner, Kieran Perot. Kieran.
Yeah, this is going to be the last heat of the day. It's a shame because the wind came up. It's blowing pretty strong, but actually not too bad. It's really rippable when the sets come. What we've seen in this heat is just a total lack of sets. It's either the tide's gotten to a real low point, combined with that wind, it's really making it difficult out there. So we don't want to send another heat out where they have to challenge this kind of conditions. So we're done for the day after this. We'll come back tomorrow.
Let's look into your crystal ball for tomorrow. What are we expecting?
Should be absolutely pumping again in the morning. And, you know, we saw that kind of slight wobble fill in as we got started this morning. The free surf was, you know, pretty amazing. Some incredible waves. And even throughout those heats, a lot of really good surf. A little bit bigger, hopefully, tomorrow morning. And with that second day of the swell, should be less wobble in it. So we're expecting a great day.
There you go, guys.
Cheers, Kipes. So the update competition will go on hold after this heat and look to resume first thing tomorrow morning. How stoked Adriano de Souza, Sebastian Zeitz and Iago Dora. They were about to go out there and battle in the slop that is on offer now with these onshore conditions. Now, potentially, they could be trading barrels in some pretty clean conditions.
Oh, that is quite the benefit for that last heat and quite unfortunate for this heat. These guys just having to struggle down the street, struggle street they call it, because of the conditions. But when the world's best are struggling, you know you got to call it off.
Yep. And saying that, like you said, you know, they're playing in the same sand pit at the moment. Wade Carmichael's trying to get himself the lead here. Needs a 5.01, digs in hard, gets a little tangled up with the white water. And he goes down as a result. You can see the form. Even though that turn was incomplete, Wade Carmichael looking aggressive at the moment. Willen Cardoso holding on to the lead. Out there, nice little projection float, and then he digs in on that pocket. Kind of gets a little bogged down.
That turn from Wade Carmichael was ridiculous. He threw in power and rail into the face of that wave. He buried his board. It was almost gone. And then the little bit of chop in the oncoming section behind him kind of toppled him over there. But wow, that's what I like to see. Some real go for it out of him. Look at this guy. Watch this turn right here. Raw! I mean, just dug the entire rail into the wall there. Almost came out of it. So much chop on that face, too. That was one of the first waves of the set. So not having a chance to clean it up or take it to that point to where it's nice and smooth, but battling through right there, Wade. Once again, love it.
Well, it's not going to be the score he needs, and Willen Cardoso, he didn't improve his situation, but he was hanging on to the lead, and that's where he stayed when the buzzer sounded at the end there. A low-scoring heat to wrap up today, but there was plenty of highlights earlier on, and we're going to be breaking them all down in the WSL post-show here from day one of the Corona Bali protected event, and we'll bring in Martin Potter for that WSL post-show. Stay with us.